Not every smiling face is a friend. Some are demons wearing the skin of someone you once trusted. There comes a time when the people closest to you begin to reveal who they really are, not through their words, but through their energy, their actions, and the way your soul reacts when they enter the room. This isn't about superstition. This is about spiritual warfare disguised as everyday relationships. You've felt it. The heavy presence, the draining conversations, the unexplained anxiety after being around certain people. These aren't just toxic behaviors. Sometimes they are signs of something darker. If you've ever asked yourself, why does this person always leave me feeling worse? You may already be surrounded. In this message, we're not talking about ghosts, but spirits that live in people. Spirits that manipulate, confuse, and destroy from the inside out. Today, I'll give you 10 unshakable signs to spot demons hiding in friends and family before they take more than just your peace. There are people in your life who don't need to say a single harsh word or lift a finger to harm you. Just being in their presence drains your spirit like a leaking vessel, and you can't quite explain why. You walk into the room feeling fine, maybe even optimistic, but after spending time with them, your energy is gone, your mood has dropped, and your peace is disturbed. You try to justify it. Maybe they were just having a bad day. Maybe you're overreacting, but deep down, your soul knows something is off. These are the people who never seem to pour into you, but always need something from you. Your attention, your time, your sympathy, your energy. It's always about their problems, their drama, their chaos, and somehow you become their emotional dumping ground without consent. They offload their heaviness onto you, then leave you to carry it. But it's not just emotional exhaustion, it's spiritual. Your body can't see it, but your spirit can feel it. These are the kinds of people who wear the face of a friend or family member, but underneath, there's something darker, feeding off the light inside you. It's spiritual parasitism, and they're not always aware of what they're doing, but that doesn't make it any less dangerous. You have to stop asking if you're being too sensitive and start asking why your soul keeps sounding the alarm around certain people. That discomfort is a warning. Your energy is your currency, and not everyone deserves access to it. Start paying attention to how you feel after every interaction. Do you feel lighter or heavier, encouraged or anxious, whole or hollow? Demons don't always come screaming with red eyes and horns. Sometimes they show up with a smile, speak in calm tones, and call you family. But if every encounter leaves you more disconnected from your peace, your purpose, or your power, it's time to recognize that this isn't just a toxic relationship, it's spiritual sabotage. You don't need to fight them, argue with them, or try to fix them. You just need to walk away and reclaim your energy. Your spirit already knows what your mind is trying to deny. Not everyone around you is good for your soul, and some are feeding on it. Protect your peace. Guard your energy. Your life depends on it. They twist the truth to divide you, subtly, skillfully, and strategically, like a snake that coils around your relationships until the life is squeezed out of them. These people don't lie outright because that would be too obvious. Instead, they distort reality just enough to sow doubt in your mind and suspicion in your heart. They play with half-truths, out-of-context statements, and emotionally charged stories that paint others in a dark light, all while presenting themselves as the innocent observer or the concerned friend. Their weapon is suggestion. I don't want to say anything but. Or, maybe you should keep an eye on them. They don't seem trustworthy. Little phrases designed to create cracks in your trust, isolate you from people who actually care, and make themselves your sole emotional anchor. And once you begin to drift away from those who protect your spirit, you become vulnerable, dependent, and easier to manipulate. This is how demons operate. Not with obvious conflict, but with quiet confusion. They stir the pot just enough to trigger emotional reactions and then step back as chaos unfolds, pretending they had nothing to do with it. They know that if they can fracture your foundation, your support system, your circle, your clarity, they can influence your perception of reality. You'll start questioning the intentions of good people, believing lies over facts, and slowly adapting their narrative as your own. That is spiritual warfare disguised as conversation. And the most dangerous part? These people often appear deeply loyal, even loving. They tell you they have your back, that they're just being real or honest. But what they're really doing is planting spiritual poison between you and your peace. You'll begin to wonder why you're feeling more paranoid, why you're second-guessing relationships that once felt solid, and why your world feels heavier, until you trace it back to one person who always seems to be the common denominator in every broken bond. That's not a coincidence. That's a calculated disruption. Demonic spirits don't always scream, they whisper. They gaslight, they charm, and they divide. When someone consistently brings division but never resolution, constantly highlights flaws in others but never owns their own, understand this: they're not trying to protect you, they're trying to isolate you. And once you're alone, they own you. Wake up, protect your relationships, and most of all, protect your mind from the lies that come dressed as concern. They celebrate your weakness, not your strength, and if you're not paying close attention, you mistake their false concern for real support. These are the people who clap the loudest when you're broken, but go silent when you start to heal. They're right there to comfort you when you've hit rock bottom, when your heart is shattered, when your plans fall apart. But the moment you begin to rise, to gain clarity, to walk in confidence, their energy shifts. Suddenly, they're distant, sarcastic, dismissive, or even resentful. Why? Because your strength threatens their illusion of superiority. Your power exposes their insecurity. As long as you're struggling, they feel needed, relevant, even elevated. But when you stand tall, they feel small. So they prefer you dependent, not independent, uncertain, not empowered. And that's the twisted truth. They don't truly love you. They love the version of you that makes them feel better about themselves. They love the broken you because it doesn't challenge them. They love the version of you that doubts your worth, that seeks their approval, that remains in a state of emotional debt. But when you start setting boundaries, prioritizing yourself, dreaming bigger, and stepping into your purpose, they can't hide their discomfort. They may disguise their jealousy as humor, mocking your ambition, calling your progress a phase, or belittling your dreams as unrealistic. They'll say things like, "Don't forget where you came from," not out of love, but as a subtle reminder to shrink back down to the level they are comfortable with. Deep down, they don't want to see you win unless they're above you in the process. And that's how you know you're dealing with a spirit, not just a person. A spirit that fears light, that feeds on insecurity, and that celebrates failure as long as it keeps you tied to them. You need to watch how people respond not to your pain, but to your healing. Anyone who feels more connected to your weakness than your growth is not a friend. There is spiritual liability. Demons won't always try to destroy you with rage. Sometimes they'll destroy you with comfort. But comfort in your brokenness is not love, it's control. Stop confusing pity for loyalty. Pay attention to who supports your power, not just your pain. Because real love doesn't fear your strength, it fuels it. They disrespect boundaries repeatedly, not because they don't understand them, but because they believe the rules don't apply to them when it comes to you. These are the people who hear your no and treat it like a negotiation. You say you need space and they crowd it. You say you're busy and they demand your time. You set a limit and they take it as a challenge. This is not miscommunication, it's a spiritual trespass. When someone consistently steps over the lines you've drawn to protect your peace, your time, your energy, they are revealing a deeper truth. They don't value your autonomy, they value their access to you. And access without respect is exploitation. These individuals operate with a spirit of entitlement. They feel entitled to your time, your presence, your attention, and your emotional bandwidth, even when you've made it clear that you're running low. They disguise their intrusions as love or concern, but at the core, it's about control. Boundaries threaten people who seek power over you. They can't manipulate what they can't reach, and so they push, little by little, testing your resolve, waiting for you to cave in like you always have. They use guilt to make you second guess your right to protect your peace. They'll say things like, "You've changed," or "You're being distant," when in reality, you've simply stopped allowing them to take from you without permission. And that's the thing about boundaries. They don't just protect your peace, they expose who never respected it in the first place. Anyone who reacts to your limits with anger, passive aggression, or emotional withdrawal is revealing that their connection to you was based on convenience, not mutual respect. And when you try to assert your spiritual and emotional sovereignty, they feel personally attacked because in their world, your availability defines your value. But hear this clearly. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your life, especially those who trample over your spirit just to get what they want. Demonic energy doesn't always come with violence. Sometimes it comes with persistence. It wears you down, not with rage, but with constant boundary erosion until you feel powerless to say no. But your peace is sacred. Your time is finite. Your presence is a privilege, not a right. Start treating your boundaries like gates to your kingdom. Because not everyone deserves to enter, and the ones who try to break in are not friends, they are intruders. Guard your gates. They mimic you, then turn others against you. A calculated tactic masked in flattery but rooted in sabotage. These are the people who study your words, your habits, your style, your energy, every detail that makes you unique, and begin to copy it so precisely that at first it seems like admiration. They laugh like you, speak like you, dress like you, even adopt your values and interests, and you might think, wow, we're just alike. But what's actually happening is something far more sinister. They're wearing your identity like a costume, not because they want to honor you, but because they want to become you and eventually replace you. It starts subtly. They echo your phrases, mirror your ideas, post content that sounds eerily like your own. And while you're still trying to make sense of this imitation, they're already working behind your back, whispering doubts into the minds of others, casting shadows on your character, your intentions, your credibility. They'll say things like, "I don't know if they're really who they claim to be," or "They've changed, they're not genuine anymore," slowly poisoning your relationships with people who used to support you. The most twisted part? They use the version of you they copied as the benchmark and then position themselves as the real one while painting you as inauthentic. It's not just betrayal. It's identity theft with a spiritual agenda. These are not just insecure people looking for inspiration. They are vessels for a spirit that envies your light but lacks its own source. That spirit imitates because it can create. It steals because it has no soul of its own, and when it realizes it can't outshine you naturally, it tries to dim you through sabotage. Suddenly, people around you are acting different, growing distant, believing things about you that don't reflect the truth, and you wonder why. The answer is that someone has weaponized your own essence to wage war against your character. This is psychological warfare wrapped in fake admiration. It's not just a toxic person, it's a parasitic spirit, using your brilliance to build their identity, and then turning that stolen light against you. The only way to defeat it is to stand firm in who you are, stay rooted in your truth, and let the imitation reveal itself over time, because no counterfeit can last forever in the presence of authenticity. Protect your identity like your life depends on it, because spiritually it does. They use guilt to keep you connected, not love, not respect. Guilt, a spiritual leash made of emotional manipulation, designed to keep you tied to them long after the relation has run its course. These people don't care if the connection is healthy, mutual, or life-giving. They only care that you stay close enough for them to keep pulling from you, your time, your energy, your loyalty. And when they sense you're waking up, pulling back, setting boundaries, or beginning to heal, they don't apologize or change. They weaponize guilt. They remind you of all they've done for you, of how much they need you, or how hurt they'd be if you abandoned them. They'll say things like, "So you're just gonna leave me? Or after everything I've done?" Knowing those words hit you where you're most vulnerable, your empathy. They twist your compassion into a chain, convincing you that leaving them equals betrayal, even when staying with them means betraying yourself. And you feel stuck, not because you love them, but because you're afraid of being seen as heartless. But let me tell you something. Guilt is not proof of love. It's a control tactic used by people who benefit from your silence and self-sacrifice. A demon will never say thank you, but it will always say, "How could you?" These spirits latch onto your sense of duty and use it to drain your soul. Little by little, they will, until you're exhausted from trying to fix what was never yours to carry. They don't want healing, they want access. They don't want partnership, they want possession. They know that as long as you feel guilty for leaving, you'll stay, even when it's killing you spiritually. But love does not guilt trip. Real love empowers, uplifts, and frees you. Guilt binds you to people who refuse to grow, who see your evolution as a threat to their control. It's not your job to shrink so they can feel secure. It's not your job to sacrifice your peace to maintain a false image of loyalty. You are not a savior, and they are not your responsibility. Emotional blackmail is spiritual abuse in disguise. And the moment you recognize it, you have a choice. Stay in the prison they built with your guilt, or break free and reclaim your soul. You don't owe permanent access to people who only show up when you feel too guilty to walk away. Let guilt go and let yourself grow. They trigger deep, unexplainable anxiety. Not through what they say outright, but through what your spirit senses beneath their presence. You could be in the same room with them and your heart starts racing, your stomach knots, your thoughts grow chaotic, and you can't figure out why, because nothing obvious is happening. They're smiling, maybe even laughing, acting normal, but your soul knows something is off. That's not paranoia, it's spiritual discernment. Your body is reacting to an unseen force, a vibration that disrupts your peace and stirs your nervous system without warning. This kind of anxiety doesn't come from conflict. It comes from misalignment with energy that is dark, deceptive, or draining. You might try to brush it off, blame yourself, or label it as overthinking, but your body is wiser than your logic. It knows when it's under spiritual attack, even when your mind hasn't caught up yet. These people often carry heavy, chaotic energy, cloaked in charm or familiarity. They say all the right things, but their aura is loud with unrest, envy, bitterness, or manipulation, and you feel it even when you can't name it. They may even make you question your worth without insulting you directly. You leave every interaction second-guessing yourself, rethinking your choices, or feeling like your inner light has dimmed. And that's how you know. They haven't just touched your mind, they've disturbed your spirit. Anxiety is often the first warning sign that you're sitting in the presence of someone whose energy is not for you. And if every time you're around them, you feel smaller, more confused, less grounded, that is not a healthy connection. It's a spiritual warning. These are the people who seem to be nice on the outside, but they carry unresolved demons that cling to them and search for open doors in you. When you feel this kind of anxiety, don't dismiss it. Investigate it. Who are you around? What shifts inside you when they speak, when they touch you, when they linger in your space? Peace doesn't lie, and neither does tension. Sometimes your anxiety isn't a symptom, it's a message. It's your spirit saying, you're not safe here. And when your spirit speaks, you must listen. Because protecting your peace isn't a luxury, it's a survival skill. Never apologize for removing yourself from what your soul knows is wrong, even when nothing visible seems broken. The unseen world is louder than you think. They laugh when you cry and cry when you shine, because your pain makes them feel powerful and your progress makes them feel invisible. These are the people who pretend to be close, who call themselves friends or family, but the truth is, they are only comfortable when you are beneath them, emotionally, mentally. When you are hurting, they act entertained, dismissive, or even amused. They may not laugh out loud, but there's a glint of satisfaction in their eyes, a smirk they try to hide, a casual shrug of your suffering, as if your brokenness affirms their superiority. They offer no real comfort, just shallow sympathy or cruel jokes disguised as tough love. But let the tables turn. Let healing hit your life. Let your glow return. Let doors start opening, and suddenly they grow distant, silent, even hostile. They begin to withdraw support, downplay your victories, or find a way to make your success about them. You'll hear things like, "You've changed," or "Don't let it go to your head," or worse, they'll try to twist your joy into arrogance to make themselves feel better. These are not just jealous people. They are spiritual adversaries, cloaked in familiarity. Your elevation exposes their stagnation. Your light makes their darkness uncomfortable. And the problem isn't that you're doing too much. It's that you're doing what they never had the courage or discipline to do. Deep down, they don't hate you. They hate what you represent. Growth, healing, and potential that refuses to be caged. When you cry, they don't reach to lift you. They observe like spectators at a show, because your pain is their entertainment. But when you rise, when you shine, when you finally walk in your worth, they feel abandoned by the version of you that made them feel superior. That's not love. That's spiritual bondage. These people were never meant to walk with you into your becoming. They were only assigned to witness whether you'd stay stuck to keep them comfortable. And once you outgrow the identity that served their ego, they mourn not your absence, but their loss of control. Pay attention to who claps when you win and who suddenly disappears. Because true love doesn't laugh at your pain or cry at your progress. It celebrates your healing and stands tall beside your greatness, not beneath it. Let those who can't handle your shine stay in the shadows where they belong. They hate the name of God, truth, or light. Not always with words, but with reactions, with discomfort, with silent resistance that grows louder every time righteousness enters the room. These are the people who seem fine until you start speaking life.